When an entitled HOA president decides to illegally dump truckloads of construction gravel across your private property line under the cover of night, most people just get mad. But when you are a licensed commercial land surveyor who happens to record every single vehicle entering your valley, that is when a petty neighborhood power trip turns into a multi-thousand-dollar financial trap. Hit that subscribe button right now, because watching a power-tripping HOA Karen realize that her illegal dumping spree has resulted in a crushing commercial invoice billed by the exact ton, backed by unyielding property liens, is the most satisfying form of karmic justice you will ever witness. My name is Nathan. For over a decade, my family has owned a quiet, undeveloped tract of land sitting directly adjacent to the ultra-exclusive Whispering Pines subdivision. For years, their self-appointed HOA president, Pamela Sterling, treated our vacant acreage like her own personal municipal dumping ground for landscaping waste, old asphalt, and construction debris. Pamela thought she could bully an empty plot into submission. She figured we wouldn't notice a few piles of grey stones spilling over the fence line. She was dead wrong. Last Tuesday, a massive commercial dump truck rolled onto our property line at midnight and unloaded 20 tons of raw gravel right over our survey markers. Pamela wanted to expand her neighborhood parking lot at our expense. She thought she scored free building materials. Little did she know, she had just signed a commercial contract with the wrong property owner. Pamela Sterling figured her late-night dumping operation was a masterclass in suburban stealth, completely unaware that my property is monitored by high-definition, solar-powered security cameras equipped with automated license plate readers. Hit that notification bell right now, because the look on Pamela's face when she received our certified commercial invoice for 20 tons of imported crushed stone was pure, unadulterated shock. Instead of calling the police and starting a messy, drawn-out neighborhood feud, I took a much smarter route. As a professional land surveyor, I immediately deployed my total station laser to map the exact cubic volume, weight density, and property encroachment of the gravel pile. Then, I pulled up standard commercial hauling rates, added heavy machinery handling fees, municipal disposal tariffs, and a mandatory commercial trespass surcharge. The total came out to a staggering $12,400, payable within 48 hours. By Wednesday morning, the invoice landed squarely on Pamela's pristine marble kitchen island. My phone started buzzing relentlessly before I even finished my morning coffee, flashing Pamela's contact photo. Her smug, perfectly manicured expression now twisted into utter disbelief. I let it ring twice, smiling quietly to myself, before finally swiping my screen to answer her call. "Nathan, what on earth is this extortionate piece of paper sitting on my kitchen counter?" Pamela shrieked through the phone speaker, her voice trembling with a potent mix of corporate outrage and pure panic. $12,000 for gravel? Are you completely out of your mind? I calmly took a sip of my coffee, letting her breathless anger echo in the quiet morning air. "Good morning, Pamela," I replied smoothly, keeping my tone entirely professional and ice-cold. "That isn't extortion. That is a standard commercial billing statement for unpermitted dumping and heavy material storage on private property." "Unpermitted dumping?" she gasped, her composure completely unraveling. "We were just clearing space for the community overflow parking. Your land is just sitting there empty anyway. You can't just send me a commercial invoice like some corporate thug. First of all, my land is private property, not your community's personal storage unit," I fired back, my voice sharpening instantly. "Second of all, my security cameras recorded your designated landscaping contractor dumping 20 tons of Grade A crushed stone right across my survey markers at midnight on Tuesday." Silence descended on the line, suffocating and dead. You have cameras out there?" she whispered, the corporate arrogance draining entirely from her voice as reality set in. "High definition, motion-tracked and time-stamped," I said, leaning back in my kitchen chair, "along with complete laser survey measurements of the exact weight and volume. You ordered the truck, Pamela, so now you get to pay for the cargo by the exact ton." Pamela's breath hitched in her throat, the terrifying realization of her legal vulnerability crashing down on her like a tidal wave. "You can't actually do this," she stammered, her voice shaking with desperate rage as she looked out her window toward the grey gravel mounds sitting on the horizon. "This is a neighborhood dispute. We can settle this at the next HOA board meeting. You don't need to involve commercial debt collectors." "The time for a neighborhood chat was before your contractor crossed my property line under the cover of darkness," I replied coldly, my tone unwavering. "The invoice stands. You have 24 hours to pay in full, or the legal mechanics liens go straight onto your association's common grounds and your personal residential title." "You're going to put a lien on my home over some gravel," she screamed, panic completely taking over her voice. "It's not just some gravel, Pamela. It's 20 tons of imported stone that you legally contracted and delivered to my address," I said sharply. "Consider it a very expensive lesson in boundary lines." "Liam, please. Let's be reasonable," she pleaded, the proud HOA president now completely broken. "Can we talk about lowering the price? Can we have my crew come pick it all back up today?" "Your crew can try," I said calmly. "But every hour it sits on my land, the storage fees accrue another $500. Tick-tock, Pamela." With a swift tap of my finger, I terminated the call, cutting off her frantic shrieking right as the sound of a heavy diesel engine sputtered to life down the road. By Friday afternoon, Pamela's frantic midnight dumping operation had turned into an expensive logistical nightmare for the entire Whispering Pines Association. Realizing that the legal liens were real and that her personal assets were genuinely on the line, Pamela scrambled to hire a private cleanup crew. Under the watchful eye of my security cameras, her terrified contractors spent 12 grueling hours shoveling, scraping, and hauling every single pebble of that 20-ton gravel pile back off my land, leaving the soil restored to its exact original condition. As for the bill, she still had to pay a steep $4,000 in emergency labor surcharges, heavy equipment transit fees, and professional surveying costs to clear her name before the county filed formal illegal dumping charges against the HOA. Pamela resigned from her position as president before the weekend even arrived, fleeing the neighborhood in utter disgrace, while furious homeowners demanded answers for the sudden financial chaos she brought upon their community. Every single morning now, I walk out onto my porch with a hot cup of coffee, looking across a pristine, perfectly empty property line. Down below, the residents of Whispering Pines finally learned an unforgettable lesson about suburban entitlement. Never treat a surveyor's land like your own private dump, because when you try to save money by stealing space, you will end up paying for every single ton through the nose.